Just imagine you're sitting in church on a Sunday morning and Don Lemon storms in with all of his cronies and protesters to ruin a perfectly fine service. That's what happened yesterday up in St. Paul, Minnesota. That's right. Good morning. It is great to be here on a Monday, 6:04, and a Martin Luther King Monday morning here on KCMO Talk Radio. Thanks for joining us. I mean, I couldn't help but just get absolutely disgusted with this video of former CNN anchor Don Lemon showing up in a St. Paul, Minnesota church over the weekend to harass people in their house of worship. You know, these people like to talk about what's Gestapo this, Gestapo that. I'm pretty sure that when you look back on moments like this in American history, the harassment of individuals in a house of worship is as disturbing a scene and much more Gestapo-like than anything you've seen from ICE, which is out there doing its job after, let's not forget, the prior guy showed up for 4 years, let 10 million people into the country illegally, and now the country has a major problem on its hands here. That's why this is happening in the first place. But Don Lemon decided he was going to find the pastor who was there yesterday in St. Paul, Minnesota, and he was going to talk to him. He was going to try to shake him down and shame him and do all of that. And I just couldn't help but think as I was watching this video, imagine storming a church mid-worship and thinking that you're the good guys. Take a listen to sanctimonious Don Lemon yesterday.
What do you think of this?
I mean, this is unacceptable. It's shameful. It's shameful to interrupt a public gathering of Christians in worship.
But there were folks who will say,
I have to take care of my flock.
okay, but listen, we live there's a constitution in the First Amendment to freedom of speech and freedom to assemble and protest.
Yeah. We're here to worship. We're here to worship Jesus because that's the hope of these cities. That's the hope of the world is Jesus Christ.
I want to be very respectful. Please don't push me, though.
We're here to worship Jesus.
Yes.
That's why we're here.
Yes.
Okay, that's why we're here.
Okay.
That's what we're about.
Don't you think Jesus would be understanding
we're about
and love these folks?
We're about spreading the love of Jesus.
But did you try to talk to them as a Christian?
No one is willing to talk.
Okay.
I have to take care of my church and my family, so I asked that you actually would also leave this building.
You don't want us to chronicle what happened?
Unless you're here to worship.
I'm always worship. I'm a Christian.
We're here to worship.
Yeah.
We're here to worship. Okay.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Don Lemon getting into a pissing contest over how big of a Christian he is not the kind of content I was looking for, really wanted this weekend, but here we are on a Monday morning. That's what we're doing. And it is absolutely embarrassing that these people are being cheered on by elected officials, the media, other Democrats, and no one is stopping them from invading houses of worship. Now, who is them? The organization involved that stormed this church and burst into this in St. Paul, Minnesota yesterday was part of an organization called the Racial Justice Network. So this Racial Justice Network, when you go to their website, they said that they are a multiracial grassroots organization committed to fighting for racial justice and building bridges across racial, social, and economic lines. And when you go to their website, they have big pictures of George Floyd, as you would imagine. And their most recent press release came 6 days ago saying women and mothers demand justice for Renee Good, call for immediate arrest of ICE agent Jonathan Ross. That is what this organization, very radical organization, clearly is about. As they dub themselves a multiracial grassroots organization committed to fighting for racial justice and building bridges across racial, social, and economic lines. The best way you can do that, by the way, is by having an immigration system that is fair, that is honest, and that doesn't flood the country with, first off, potentially bad people intending to do bad things, oftentimes happening in lower income communities, and flooding these communities far too often with drugs and criminals and guns and things of that nature. If you want to help the people you're claiming to help, having massive amounts of illegal immigration ain't it. The other thing it does for the people that you claim you're trying to help is potentially lower the floor on some of these jobs that they may be competing for, that they may otherwise want, that citizens in this country may take advantage of to further improve their lot in life. That's the other thing that you may be doing. But when you talk through this and think through this critically, yeah, they're not looking to have that conversation. That's not what they're looking to do. That's not part of what they want to do. So then you get things like this. You get chaos like this yesterday on the streets of St. Paul, Minnesota. Now, what's amazing is you have not heard from any official up there about what happened at this church yesterday. These people are in their house of worship. They are sitting there praising the Lord, and they have these knuckleheads come in and take over the entire church. That's what happened yesterday in St. Paul. Not a word from Jacob Fry, the mayor up there. Not a word from, of course, Happy Hands Walls. Not a word from anybody. Never mind all the other politicians who, around the country, including here in Kansas City, are always chiming in now on the first thing coming out of Minnesota. Not a peep on this because, of course, not. Now, the White House has chimed in. Last night, Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt put out a statement. President Trump will not tolerate the intimidation and harassment of Christians in their sacred place of worship. The Department of Justice has launched a full investigation into the despicable incident that took place earlier today at a church in Minnesota. That was from Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt. And the Don Lemon clip where he's like, "Don't touch me, man. Don't you touch me." When the pastor, was kind of not rubbing his arm, but he was placing his hand on his arm to kind of lean in and talk to him. And I thought Don Lemon was going to flop like he was LeBron James in an All-Star game or something like that. Man, that was tough to watch. But this is what is going on. It's not getting better. It's not. And you have local leaders fanning the flames is what you have. Regardless of what you think of Renee Good, and I don't think anyone of a reasonable nature believes that she deserved to lose her life. I don't think anyone wants to see anybody die. It's a tragedy what happened up there. But it is getting more dangerous by the day. And it's not just people in Minnesota fanning the flames. It's people in Kansas City fanning the flames. We ended Friday talking about how they're looking at this ICE detention facility location, potentially in South Kansas City. And you have had a lot of the same rhetoric out of leaders in this town over the last 72 hours or so. And no one's getting helped by any of this. Now, over the weekend, I wasn't there. I didn't see it firsthand. But Kate was taking the girls to Claire's first cheer competition over the weekend on Saturday. And I guess up in Lenexa, you had a combination of washed-up hippies and young blue-hairs protesting ICE on 87th Street and 435. So I'll give them credit. It was pretty chilly out there on Saturday, but I think there's a Starbucks on one of those four corners.
Black Dog, I think, is the coffee house. Used to be there when my kid would go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
it's been back in your day almost, but there was a good one there.
There was definitely coffee nearby. Mm-hmm. I'll just say that.
Absolutely.
She sent me photos. I may throw them up on social media here when I have some time of these people out on the street corners protesting ICE in Lenexa. And I said, did the girls ask? Oh, and by the way, there is a Starbucks on the northeast corner of 87th and Lackman. So I know where they went when they were done with their protesting. Oh, and there's another Starbucks right there, right off of 435 and 87th Street in Lenexa. You got a McDonald's, Panera, and Starbucks all within stone's throw. And then you got another Starbucks down the street on Lackman. How about that?
Yep, Black Dog's still around, I see.
Okay,
a lot
good
of
deal.
Good stuff there.
A lot of coffee for the protesters. They like donuts right down the street. Grab your donut, grab your coffee, and you're off to the races. Holy smokes, there's another Starbucks down there at 87th and Flum. Starbucks in every corner. That's why they were protesting there. So I said, what did the girls say to you? And she said, well, they're like, why are these people out there? It looks so cold. She goes, oh, well, they just disagree with some of the things going on in this country. That's where she left it. And I was like, good answer. I said, were there like 7 follow-ups? And she said, yeah, but I turned the radio up. I said, that works every time. Every single time. It is 6:14. It is great to be here on a Monday morning on KCMO Talk Radio 95.7 FM. Coming up, I will tell you how Kevin Keatsman totally ruined what was otherwise a great weekend for me next. Oh, what a great song. One of my favorite Springsteen hits, The Promised Land. Well, Kevin Keatsman decided to ruin a perfectly fine weekend for me when he texted Mark and me yesterday, and he sent a video of Springsteen going off on ice as he got set to play Promised Land. So it was a 2-minute speech telling ICE to get the bleep out of Minneapolis during a surprise concert appearance. This was on Saturday night in Red Bank, New Jersey, and the event was benefiting Parkinson's disease research. Now, I had the audio of Springsteen here momentarily, but just to take you behind the scenes, Red Bank, New Jersey is down the Jersey Shore in what used to be a very blue-collar part of the country, no longer is, but is still a very conservative, and I know it sounds hard to believe, but a conservative part of that part of the country. That is now, I don't want to say it's deep red, but I'll just say that part of New Jersey and the Jersey Shore is more red than Johnson County, Kansas is. There are far more MAGA supporters down there than you might have in parts of like Northeast Johnson County. Not that that's hard, but the point is it's still New Jersey. So 1,500 people are there, and Springsteen decided he was going to go off on ice on Saturday night in Red Bank, New Jersey, leading into one of his best songs, The Promised Land, and here's what it sounded like. Did you bleep this properly, Mark? I know it's a holiday Monday morning. I just want to make sure that you bleeped it.
Should be good.
Okay. Famous last words. Should be good.
Still matters. And that it's worth speaking out. And that it's worth fighting for. If you believe in the power of the law and that no one stands above it. If you stand against heavily armed, masked federal troops invading an American city and using Gestapo tactics against our fellow citizens. If you believe you don't deserve to be murdered for exercising your American right to protest, and send a message to this president, and as the mayor of that city has said, ICE should get the f*** out of Minneapolis. Well, this song is for you, and in the memory of mother of 3 and American citizen Renee Good. Thank you.
That was Springsteen on Saturday night. And it pains me. I mean, if I could listen to anyone's music on loop, nonstop, one artist, rest of my life, it's Springsteen. He was our wedding song. I've seen him in concert 8, 9 times, at least. Might be more like 10. I don't know. I might be into the double digits. Saw him 2 summers ago. It was fantastic. Also saw him when he came through Kansas City. That was about 3 years ago now. Like next month, 3 years ago. It was amazing. But man, he's not getting any smarter in his old age. I'll just say that much.
The brightest bulb in the pack to begin with.
I know you're trying to be nice, John, because you know that's my guy, but you don't have to hold back. He's talking out of both sides of his mouth here. Springsteen goes, no one's above the law. Yeah, buddy, I love you, but that's what ICE is doing. That's what ICE is doing.
Yeah, we all agree on that point.
Okay? No one is above the law. I agree with you there, Bruce. We are simpatico on that point. ICE is arresting people who have not just oftentimes broken the law to get into the country, but broken laws once they've been in the country. Springsteen then goes on to say, these troops invading U.S. cities are like the Gestapo. Notice how he doesn't say that if it's massive numbers of illegal immigrants competing for housing and jobs with working class stiffs in major American cities. He doesn't say that, does he? He says that Renee Good doesn't deserve to die or be murdered for protesting. Well, no one deserves to be murdered for protesting. I agree with you. Renee Good was not protesting. Now, that does not mean necessarily that she deserved to die. I'm not suggesting that either. But the notion that she was a peaceful protester is rewriting history, Bruce. So as talented a musician as this guy is, as great of a songwriter as Bruce is, and I would argue he's one of the best of all time, his politics and his common sense are not coming together in his mid-70s. It's not connecting at all. And when you talk about no one being above the law, there was this clip over the weekend, an ICE agent went viral because he pulled up to a group of people that were honking horns at ICE agents as they were driving through Minneapolis over the weekend. And here's what he said to them.
Reporting, we're here to arrest a child sex offender. And you guys are out here honking.
Oh, we're not. No, we're pressed. No, we're not.
That vehicle right there is honking and impeding our investigations while we're trying to arrest a child sex offender. That's who you guys are protecting. Insane. That's what we're doing.
That ICE agent, who also, I will add, is a Hispanic American, getting yelled at by a bunch of crusty old white people, says we are here to arrest a child sex offender. That's who you're defending. That's who you're getting behind. That's who you're protesting on behalf of. Stop. 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 I mean, that was a moment. I know that that's probably something that ICE agents are not supposed to do, engage with protesters in that moment. But I thought it was a very valuable 25-second clip because they had no answer. He says, we are here in your community. Now, I don't know how many of these people actually live there, but we are here in your community to make it safer by taking an alleged child sex offender off the streets. And this is how you guys react? This is how you respond to us? It doesn't even make sense. I don't care who you are. I don't care who you voted for, what you think of Trump. It doesn't make any sense because there is no common sense right now. Everything is so hyper emotional. And if there's one thing as we sit here on a Monday morning, and maybe you're off today, maybe you're listening right now, you got the coffee going, you're firing up the Alexa, you're listening on the KCMO Talk Radio app, take a breath. All of us take a breath. Obviously, I feel incredibly strong in my opinions and feelings on the subject, as I know many of you do as well. But all of us, take a breath, take a step back, and don't change your opinions necessarily, but at least be willing to have a reasoned, common sense conversation about what's going on. And we've got to have the same facts, and then we can disagree. But if we can't agree that getting child sex offenders off American streets is not a good thing, then I don't know how we go forward. I really don't. 6:27 on a Monday. Good morning. Great to have you here on KCMO Talk Radio. Coming up, a couple of Kansas schools made national attention for the wrong reasons next. Brutal couple of days for a pair of Kansas public schools. Good morning. We are here on a Martin Luther King Jr. Monday on KCMO 95.7 FM. And if you're not working today, you can still listen, stream us on the KCMO Talk Radio app or on the iHeart app. We'll have Mark Alford in studio 2 hours from now coming up at 8:30. So let's start in Eureka, Kansas. Eureka, Kansas found itself getting all the headlines for the wrong reasons because, well, as the story goes, according to a complaint, a Kansas elementary school guidance counselor kept sixth graders from listing Charlie Kirk, President Trump, and Jesus as role models during a class assignment. This, according to a complaint sent last week to federal officials by a conservative legal organization. This is at Marshall Elementary School, And here's what it sounded like on 12 News.
Rachel, the incident happened last October, and we're only just now hearing about it now, partly because the school told the kids that they couldn't tell their parents. A parent told us the class was asked to write out who they consider a hero. One child wrote Charlie Kirk was their hero, and the guidance counselor apparently got frustrated. Then another child wrote Donald Trump, and they got more annoyed. After that, a student wrote Jesus, and the counselor said that none of those names were allowed. Later on, the school gathered the sixth graders together and apologized and asked the students not to go to their parents, but talk to the teachers first. I spoke to Alyssa Moore. Her sixth grade son wasn't present for the assignment, but was there for the apology.
They should have set the parameters before if they didn't want certain people up there. We wanted them to be re-educated on how to interact with students that you don't agree with their viewpoint.
We will continue following this story, and we'll be sure to update you as we learn more information in the coming days. In Eureka, I'm Thomas Lynch, 12 News.
And we did reach out to Marshall Elementary's principal for comment. She sent us this statement saying that the school is aware of the incident and is working with family and staff to make sure every learning activity is a positive experience.
She also adds in this, the school cannot comment on the people involved as it's committed to protecting the privacy of faculty and students.
So this was in Eureka, Kansas. Now, I just so happen to have friends in my neighborhood who grew up in Eureka, Kansas. So when I saw the story for the first time, I sent the story to a couple of guys that know Eureka, Kansas very well. And one of the guys who grew up there was like, oh, yeah, this has been popping for the last couple of days. I'm like, bro, you got to tell me this stuff. I would have used it last week. It just started becoming a national story over the weekend. I'm like, come on. I know I got great producers here in John and Mark, but I'll take all the help I can get, man. I don't know what's going on in little Eureka, Kansas. Population 2,200 people. About an hour due east of Wichita. So what? Hour 45 south of here, more or less, south-southwest. But they're now making national headlines because of this story where students in sixth grade were told they could not use Charlie Kirk, that was the first name brought up, as a potential role model. According to the complaint, the teacher became very uncomfortable and yelled out that Charlie Kirk was, quote, not a hero, according to the complaint. The teacher then ordered the part of his name already written to be erased. Another student mentioned Trump as a role model. The teacher reiterated her prohibition even more angrily, stating that students could not write political or religious figures on the board, and in fact excluded political and religious topics altogether. But the complaint says that this teacher allowed the names of other controversial figures, including football players involved in political activism, to be written on the board. I'm sure that Colin Kaepernick somehow found his way onto that dry erase board. That's the only name. That's the name that I thought of right away. Colin Kaepernick. No Charlie Kirk. But yes, the great grifter, Colin Kaepernick. But you know what bothers me even more about this story than just this teacher and the operation down there at Eureka Schools? The fact that they told the students not to tell their parents. By the way, it's entirely possible that if they didn't say that, the parents wouldn't have known about it. But when you say, hey, don't tell your parents, yeah, someone's going to tell them. And they did the right thing. It's one thing to have a teacher or groups of teachers in schools who may be activist in nature. It's another thing to have a school district from the administration on down basically say, hey, wink, wink, nod, nod. What happens here in this building is between us. We're like one big family. They treat it like a socialist commune is what they do. Don't worry about that family you've got at home. You spend more time here anyway during the day. These schools are now 8-9 hour days. Think about it. They're in the schools oftentimes more than they're in your homes. The homes they grew up in, with their parents, with their siblings. It's just the way of the world. Because these school days have become, in my opinion, way too long. And they've become, in many respects, glorified daycare. The kids don't need to be in schools 8-9 hours a day, but they are. And for a school district like Eureka, Kansas, population 2,200, to be out there like, yeah, don't worry, don't tell your parents. We don't want to, have them get involved in any of this. Ask yourself why they might be going that route. One, they have zero respect for the parents, none whatsoever. Zero respect for the community. It's the parents in the community who pay the taxes to fund the schools. Zero respect whatsoever. They made that very clear, according to this complaint. And then, you know what the other part of it is? They believe they're now above the parents. They supersede the parents. That is the attitude from some, not all, but from some in the public education world we now live in. And I say that as somebody who has a child in it. There are many good people. I would still argue most are really good people and want to do it the right way. But the activists, unfortunately, are growing. They are drawing, and getting attracted to that line of work. And they're pushing their activism in the classroom on impressionable sixth graders. And it's not just New York, L.A., or Chicago. It's not even just Kansas City. It is rural Kansas where you are seeing this. Now, the other story was closer to home. That's in Gardner Edgerton. And the story there came courtesy of the social media account Libs of TikTok. A teacher at Gardner Edgerton organized a protest for students during school hours to protest ICE. They even made anti-ICE signs to hold at the protest. There's a screenshot here, and it shows that last Wednesday, you can meet in Ms. Robertson's room, put your signs and supplies in your car, walk to Madison, get adults to supervise, be there by 1:30, walk over at 1:40, and protest against ICE. That was happening during school hours, allegedly, down at Gardner Edgerton last Wednesday on the 14th of January. They even made anti-ICE signs to hold at the protest. In case you were wondering whether or not the school day is too long, when you have time to go protest ICE at 1:30 on a Wednesday and pass on math and science and history and reading and writing, the school day is too long. Okay, John? That's it.
So the glue stick and the markers that I was supposed to provide here at the beginning of the year went to this.
Huh? Yeah. Oh, that's so good. That is so good, man. Yeah, because we have to do that. I'm sure Mark has to do it, too.
Yeah, you got a list. You got to get stuff.
Yeah, you got to get stuff. Little did we know that the glue and the paper and the scissors would be used for protesting ICE in the middle of January.
We bring all that stuff in, but then there's a fee on top of that. So I don't know what the fee goes
to. Is there a fee on top of that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
A fee to the school?
Yeah.
For what?
I don't know.
So you buy all the classroom supplies and they kick in a fee?
Yeah, and then you got to go online and do a fee thing.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I haven't gotten that yet. But when I do, there's my tirade Tuesday when the girls are getting older. That's it right there. I mean, that's horrible. And to think that that's happening, and by the way, there's screenshots I'm looking at here. I'll reshare this on X right now, at Pete Mundo. You can see it there. I just posted it seconds ago. And you can see this detailed guideline for the ICE protests that allegedly happened with students at Gardner Edgerton last week. None of this is good.
Like, even at that age that they would consciously object. So what happens to the kid if he's even smart enough to object and say, no, I don't want to protest.
No, I'm certainly not going outside.
You're kind of coerced through peer pressure to participate.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely. That's
Seems
what's going
abusive.
on. Yes, it is.
To use children as props.
Yep. This is not what they're supposed to be doing in a public school classroom at 1:30 on a Wednesday. Okay? That's not what they're supposed to be doing. 913-408-7957. If you are a parent or a grandparent and you've seen this up close and personal, this is the kind of stuff that makes you wonder, wait, my taxes keep going up in part because of the schools, and this is the kind of product I'm getting on the back end? This is the kind of quality I'm getting in some parts of Kansas, and it knows no boundaries. It's not exclusively in urban centers. It's not just in suburbia. It is from urban to suburban to rural across the board. And it's something that every parent should be keeping a close eye on right now in Kansas and Missouri. Mark Alford's like, let me have him. Give me a shot. Let's bring him down to Cass County. 7:04. Good morning. Great to have you here on KCMO Talk Radio. It was 7:03 and 58 seconds when I was like, do I say it's 7:04 or 7:03? No matter what it is, I hope that you are enjoying, for many of you, what is likely a day off and streaming us on the KCMO Talk Radio app or on the iHeart app, or just listen at KCMOTalkRadio.com. So all the news last week, Thursday, Friday here in Kansas City, was about what? It was about the possibility of an ICE detention facility coming to South Kansas City. And magically, what happened? You had the Kansas City, Missouri City Council jump on this thing. Wednesday afternoon it breaks that the feds are looking at this location down in South KC for an ICE detention facility. And by Thursday, they're passing a piece of legislation at City Council saying, hey, we're not going to have an ICE detention facility here. If only they could move that quickly on like everything else that actually matters in Kansas City. Fixing potholes, fixing streetlights, hiring cops. I mean, the fire department's an absolute mess, right? I mean, I had somebody reach out and thought it was a good point, and I'll share it with you here. They Facebook messaged me about this, and I was like, well, that's a great point on Facebook. I'll use that tomorrow. This person says to me, Pete, we've had an interim fire chief for over 1,000 days. They've put out 3 nationwide hirings. The current chief retires this week, and we still have no clue who the next chief will be. But when it comes to banning detention centers in Kansas City, they can get that done in the span of 24 hours. Exactly right. And that is so spot on. I love everything about that post because it tells you how when the government actually does care about something that they find politically expedient, oh, they'll get hustling, they'll get moving. They'll like bing, bang, boom. They'll get that thing done in a heartbeat. But, you know, when it comes to like the basics that people want to see happen in their communities, well, you know, it takes some time. It takes a little bit of time to make sure that we've got things like a fire chief all wrapped up when they have 3 nationwide hirings and it's been 1,000 days. You can't make that up, man. You really can't. So Mark Alford, who's going to be in studio here at 8:30 this morning, of course, Missouri congressman, 4th Congressional District, he sent a letter to ICE on Friday morning proposing Cass County as an alternative to a potential Kansas City location. So he wrote this over the weekend, and he said, quote, if you don't want them, we will work with ICE. We believe in law and order in the 4th Congressional District and Cass County, and we want to help ICE deport people who should not be here. Alford suggested 2 specific locations: a 7-acre vacant lot on 155th Street. And if you are a Cass County resident and you have any insight in these locations, please share them at 913-408-7957. So 155th Street also
That's
marked
by my house.
Oh, it is?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well.
Not too far away.
Then I know somebody.
Yep.
Then I know a guy, is what you're telling me.
You got some people.
So you like this location?
Specifically the original one they're talking about?
Arnold Avenue.
Road.
Arnold Avenue.
Where Mark was saying a little further south in Cass County.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
It says here 155th Street, also marked as Arnold Avenue or County Line Road.
Right.
And North Scott Avenue in Belton.
Right. Okay. Right on the corner down there. Not much there. Used to be a gate to the base here at one time. A hotel stood there.
Is there any kind of facility there, or is it just empty land?
There are facilities on the land. I don't know the nature of them. There's an auto place there, wholesale where they move cars in and out, things like that.
Because my understanding is that ICE liked this facility in Kansas City because it's already a building. They don't want to build a brand new building because they don't want to take up time to do that.
Right out along 49, there's several of those. They're typical now, little cracker box warehouse type things where you see 4 corners with the glass entryway and then big warehouse spaces. So there are a couple of those, one on the east side of 49. So this would be a different location, but nearby, other side of the highway, but within, a stone's throw.
Okay.
So there are facilities built specifically where they're at. I'm not sure at the moment that there's anything right there, but there may be something repurposed from the old base facilities.
Belton is writing on social media in response to this, not so fast. The city of Belton was made aware today of discussions about a possible ICE detention facility being located in our community. For multiple reasons, the city of Belton is not interested. The city would not elaborate any further. So the property is owned by Cass County, not Belton, meaning county leaders would make any decision about the property's future. Cass County Sheriff's Office, which had planned to use the Belton site for its North Annex, said it is facing, quote, challenges related to property easements and rising construction costs at that location. The office said they are committed to identifying a responsible and sustainable solution to meet its growing space needs. The space was formerly the Belton Inn, which was demolished back in 2022.
Yeah, just a lot right now.
The sheriff's office described the demolition as a major step towards reducing crime, revitalizing a long-blighted area of the community. And the sheriff's office declined comment on Mark Alford's proposal to use the Belton land for ICE detention purposes. So no one really wants to talk about this right now. But I think for Mark Alford, first off, this is interesting for him because, remember, he's going to represent a bulk of Jackson County when this redistricting takes place. So some people might say, well, should Mark really dive in head first into this issue of ICE? He's made, I believe, a wise political calculation that this issue is much more popular with regular people than it appears to be on cable news, than it appears to be when you turn on your nightly news, than when you listen to maybe a radio broadcast somewhere else, than when you scroll through social media. He's saying, no, most common sense Kansas Cityans will sit there and say, if there's a facility that is good for the community, that works as an ICE detention facility, whether it's in Jackson or Cass County, whether it's in Kansas City, Missouri, or Belton, that can be, first off, a good thing. That can be a helpful thing for the Kansas City region, but also for other parts of the country. And for people that love to scream about, wait, we got to bring jobs. How are we bringing jobs here? Construction jobs and this job and that job and law enforcement jobs. Suddenly, I guess, they are not all that interested. And I find that is interesting. And Mark Alford's going to be in studio this morning on KCMO Talk Radio at 8:30 this morning, just over an hour from now. We'll ask Mark Alford what exactly those conversations have been and how realistic it is that we actually end up with this ICE detention facility somewhere in the Kansas City area, which obviously has gotten an enormous amount of blowback. Now, yesterday, there was a fundraiser to take a stand against ICE, and it took place at Blip Roasters. They call themselves the Coffee Roaster and Cafe of the West Bottoms in Kansas City, Missouri. So this was an event that was called F-ICE. It took place yesterday, 4 to 7 p.m., a benefit they called a fundraiser, raising money to directly benefit immigration communities in Minnesota. You were asked to bring a non-perishable item to donate to their local pantry, and it was hosted by Latino Resistance KC in partnership with a bunch of other groups. So, Latino Resistance KC, why would they lobby for people who have broken the law? I mean, I think that the Latino community is great for Kansas City. It's great for America. It's fantastic. You want to come to America? You want to embrace our values, our ideals? I'm all in, man. That's fantastic. I love everything about that. But when you talk about an organization that is somehow defending those who have broken the law to get here, when there's thousands, if not millions of people around the world who are dying for a chance to come to America the legal way, why would you want to get yourself in bed with organizations like this? I can't figure it out. But I know that, John wasn't there yesterday. Mark wasn't there yesterday. Not because they didn't know what to wear. That's sometimes the case. But because even for any of us, this is just a bridge too far. 913-408-7957. Sarah's in Raymore. Sarah, you're on KCMO. Good morning.
Good morning, Pete. I just wanted to mention, because I live fairly near where you're talking about, near off 155th. I live on the Raymore side, and one thing that came up over the weekend in our area is, that people wanted to fight this like we fought the landfill. But the landfill, and I could tell you I was helping lead the pack that fought that landfill, so I know exactly what I'm talking about. This is nowhere near that landfill. This area that they're wanting to put it in is right off 71 Highway. It's nowhere near like homes or businesses. It's not at all like what that landfill was, and it feels like that's another like area that's coming up right now saying we want to fight this just like we fought the landfill, and that was going on in our neighborhood this weekend. And I'm like, guys, like that's not at all like those two things are not at all related. But the bottom line is the emotion is still the same. People don't want it there. We want other things in our area, but you know, if it's available and they can make it work, then so be it. But there's a lot of people upset about it.
And you guys successfully beat that landfill, right? A couple of years back?
We did. Our area had to pay out nearly $5 million to stop it because of all of the shenanigans in Jeff City. But, yeah, we beat it.
Wow. So you're viewing this and you're saying this is not like the landfill, different location, different area. You know, you're not talking about backing up to a neighborhood and things like that. So you're okay with it?
I think I want to just learn more about it before I immediately get in the yes camp, but it's not the same thing. It's not across the street from an elementary school. It's not across the street from home.
All right. Thank you, Sarah.
It's totally different. All
Good.
right, thanks.
Have a great week. Thanks so much.
Yeah, it kind of felt like that in the living out that way. You know, people are energized from pushing the landfill away, if you will. But this is on a different side of the highway and not Raymore. There's, you know, some esprit de corps there, but this is a whole different thing, right? Because this is on former base property, and there's not a lot there to the point.
We'll see what Mark Alford has to say coming up at 8:30 on KCMO.
Real quick, I wanted to say maybe people feel like I do. I'm not sure I'm in favor of it, but I'm not opposed to it.
Yeah.
So it's like a plan B. Sometimes you have two plans, and your plan A is what you are for, but you sometimes resort to plan B, which you're not opposed to.
Well, and what I want to find out from Mark is whether or not ICE is even interested in this, right?
There you go.
I mean,
he was just volunteering some info, right?
They have legitimate reasons to be interested in this South Kansas City location because it's already a structure that fits their needs. I have no idea if this structure that Mark Alford is proposing fits the needs of what ICE has in mind for a facility that they want to get up and running by the end of this year. So that's a quick turn. This Greenland story is a classic example of whatever camp you are in, you either think it's the greatest idea ever or you think it's the worst idea anybody could have ever concocted. And the only thing that motivates it is which political party you identify with and which person you voted for in 24. Am I right, John, or am I right?
Feels
on
that way. I think so.
It's really that simple and that stupid. No one thinks about it beyond, like, what does it mean, the intricacies of the value of Greenland when it comes to Russia and China. It's just, if Trump wants Greenland and you voted for Trump, yeah, let's get him. And if you hate Trump, oh, my gosh, what is he doing? Oh, no.
Here's what I like about his whole first term. He was busting on NATO's chops. You guys are pulling your weight.
Yeah.
I mean, what are you guys doing? You need to, like, chip in more and get busy, right? So he's always been busting on NATO to pull their share.
Yep.
So he motivates them in a left-handed way by saying he's going to do it and take over. Oh, no, you can't. Everyone gets all busy. Germany gets all busy. Denmark, you know, God bless them.
Oh, I love it.
Right? And so in a left-handed way, he's got them off their keisters to do something to help.
Yeah, exactly right. I love his line when he spoke to NATO last year, and he goes, the only thing you guys have ever given me is a broken teleprompter and a broken elevator. I mean, that was it. Because the elevator stopped working, and then his prompter went down. So he loves ragging on him, and he's right to rag on him.
Absolutely.
He's standing up for the American taxpayer, by the way, when he rags on him. Because as is the case in too many things in this world, we're footing the bill for these lazy sons of guns over in Europe who do nothing and are just, I mean, they are just the definition of beta male wimps, the guys that are running these places. So you got someone who's finally standing up for America here on this stuff, and I find it wildly appealing, dare I say sexy, when he goes about his business this way. But over the weekend, there was an NBA game in London because, you know, now all these leagues have to follow the NFL. They all have to play games overseas. I don't get it. College football, the NFL, now the NBA is doing it too. And during the national anthem yesterday in this NBA game in London between the Memphis Grizzlies and the Orlando Magic, well, take a listen to what happened during the anthem when somebody screamed, a heckler screamed about Greenland. That was it. Leave Greenland alone! From the top rafters. Relax, buddy. It's going to be okay. Something tells me Trump was not tuned in to the Grizzlies Magic game from London yesterday as he's enjoying some sunshine down in Mar-a-Lago. Now, he will be at tonight's college football national championship game between Indiana and Miami, but I do not believe that he was intently watching an NBA game in London over the weekend when that heckler decided to use his 5 seconds of fame to scream about Trump in Greenland and leaving them alone. Well, here's the thing. If Russia and China left Greenland alone, we would be able to leave Greenland alone. In the zero-sum game that is foreign policy, if the worst actors on the planet are winning, the good guys are losing. It's really that simple. There is not a world where China wins and Russia wins and Iran wins and America wins. That world doesn't exist. Barack Obama wanted that world to exist. He desperately tried to make that world exist. Remember when him and Biden were going around the Middle East and apologizing on behalf of America? That was really their foreign policy plan. They wanted this kind of socialistic utopia of how does everybody come out on top? How do we all win? And then when you realize that if these people had their way, they would wipe this country off the face of the earth, there's really no way for all of us to win. It's impossible. And that's why this Greenland thing matters. And the Wall Street Journal wrote a good piece yesterday. In Trump's drive for Greenland, NATO is the first casualty. And it kind of gets to what John was referencing there earlier. Trump has such a disdain for NATO, not because he doesn't agree in the idea of the West coming together for the betterment of the world. It's not about that. It's about the fact that for too long they've been freeloading off the United States. That's what it's really about to him. Like at his core, Trump is what? He's a deal maker. People always portray him as this like hyper partisan guy. I actually think he's less partisan than most politicians because all he cares about is really deals, not ideology. He's not ideologically driven in the sense of like someone who's been in politics for years. It's, I want this. How do I get this? What do I have to give up to get that?
To your point, he's a money guy. And when he sees that there's the European nations are supposed to pay a percentage of their GDP or whatever, and they're below that, that ticks him off as a money guy.
That makes him feel like we're getting screwed. And he's right to point that out. So it's always been personal between Trump and NATO. It always has been. And then when he feels like, hey, these countries are freeloading off of us, and they're not even pulling their weight when it comes to doing things like protecting Greenland and making sure that Russia and China and Iran stay at bay. And he's mad that these countries in Europe who have worshipped at the altar of green energy and then suddenly realize, boy, this ain't what it's hyped up to be, and they're buying Russian gas. He's like, what are you doing? Use some common sense. You're funding the Russians who would love nothing more than to wipe out the eastern half of Europe. And that's where his common sense is, frankly, not as common with fellow world leaders. If it was, we wouldn't be having these conversations today. But it's what we have to do. So you can get all the hecklers out there at NBA games that you want screaming, leave Greenland alone. And this is, oh my gosh, how could we hurt poor little Greenland? It's not about Greenland. It never has been. It's about us. And it's about Europe not doing its fair share and not doing its part and being weak and ineffective on our behalf and their own behalf for going on 2 generations now. That's what this is really about. And it's about time someone stood up for us. Us, like you, yes, the taxpayer, yes, you, the person that fined, didn't vote for him. But that's what it's really about at its core. Now, the other national anthem that got a lot of attention over the weekend was in Chicago. And what a game that was last night. You know, the Bears-Rams game, when Caleb Williams threw that touchdown at the last second, it was like a fadeaway jumper into the left corner of the end zone against the LA Rams to force overtime. I had never seen anything like that. The girls had just gone to sleep. It was probably 8 o'clock, 8:15, somewhere in there, right, when that pass happened. And Kate and I were talking at the kitchen island, and then I look up at the TV and I see the pass, and I'm like, whoa! But, you know, you're in the middle of like a conversation, and then you kind of interrupt that conversation by reacting to the sports game, and it's like, ugh, bad look by me there. But I really didn't see that one coming. But it happens to the best of us once in a while. I'm like, whoa! And she's like, don't wake up the girls. I was like, geez, that was wild.
Yeah, it was just on the replay here on the TV on Fox 4. I was like, wow.
That was amazing. There's only a couple of guys.
Where's he throwing it?
Only a couple of guys in the NFL who can make that throw. Mahomes, Allen, and then maybe Caleb Williams. That's probably it.
It was back-to-back weeks on 4th down that he made a crazy pass.
Yeah. And then he threw an interception, and the Rams won the game. But before the game, this national anthem went viral. Credit to NBC. They showed the anthem on TV. This guy does the Blackhawks games, the hockey team up there in Chicago. And I guess he's a local legend. Jim Cornelison is his name. I thought it was very good. I want to play it for you here. I didn't think it was Generald Wilson good, our guy here with the Chiefs, but it was good. Let's take a listen.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets rang clear, the bombs bursting in air, gained proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the
I mean, it's no Ray Stevens, but that was really good. Our old pal here on KCMO Talk Radio, Jim Cornelison. I like him a lot. I don't think he is Generald Wilson at Arrowhead Stadium. I'm just saying.
I hear a difference.
I do too. Now, I know he's a big deal up there, but it's kind of like, what would the analogy I would use?
I'll give you one.
Okay, go ahead.
Opera singer versus a soul singer.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes, he does have that opera sound to it. It's just not my thing.
It's technical.
Yes.
There's a lot more feeling.
There's a technical sound to it. I would agree. But give me Generald at Arrowhead any Sunday over Jim. Not that he's bad. He's just not my cup of tea as much as Generald is.
I don't know if Jim has served.
Yeah, that's true. I think that should matter. That's right. Generald has served this country. That's a good point. But it's like when, a local band goes national and they have those deep local ties and everyone thinks the rest of the country should like them because they're big stars in their local town. And it's like, this just doesn't work around the rest of the country. It feels like that to me. And you know what? It was great. I loved it. But I'm missing Gerald Arrowhead when I hear it. That's what I hear.
The full 100-yard flag was kind of cool, though.
Well, I agree with that. Chiefs got to bring that back. They haven't had one of those in a few years, I feel like, doing the full field flag. That looks really good on TV, and it's got to be electric in the stadium. That was fantastic.